Well, let's make a distinction. The distinction is another being in your space that has a anchor there that kind of takes over. That's not what you're talking about, I don't believe. And the other one is just simply the ongoing conversation that happens in your head, the telepathy levels that are on. And those conversations are going on all the time on a telepathy level. People you don't even know, thoughts that aren't related to you, but you make comments about, beliefs that other people have that you hold in your space somehow, whether you even know you got the belief or not. And there's this dialogue going on all the time. For the most part, it's noise. And for the most part, where you're playing and where you're asking for, it's simply unmanaged attention points. Would that make any sense? They just keep happening, happen all during the day.
That makes sense.
Okay, so not a good or bad thing, just we'll call it unmanaged attention points. In that case, what unmanaged attention points are about is I haven't chosen to take a breath and manage my present time space, being very present in present time space, and choosing to pay attention to me sitting here and simply noticing 1, 2, 3 breaths. That 1, 2, 3 breath space is purposeful. At the beginning of level 1, we'd say, okay, leave your eyes open and be aware of your breath, and then let your vision go into an unfocused manner. The room's still there, and then just become aware of 3 simple breaths. What happens in that space, there's no chatter in your head. Or sometimes, because you're now doing something new, the chatter pops in. It's the same space as people sit down to meditate, and all of a sudden the thought comes in, oh, I need to buy potato chips for the party tomorrow night, and they get up out of the meditation and walk away. Those unmanaged thoughts call an attention point to itself, and then we just simply go and engage with the babble that goes on in the conversation. That's a level of clairaudience, it's a level of telepathies. It's simply like having a radio that can't hold one channel. All of a sudden there's all these other channels that come in and out, and noise comes in and out. That's just the unmanaged aspect of I can choose to be in present time and take a breath and choose to stay here. And when a voice comes in, rather than engaging with it or arguing with it or going, oh, there it is again, gee, I'm not doing this well, please stay out of that space, just recognize, oh, there that is again. Take a breath and let it go. Now, that's a simple meditation all by itself. Is just sit there and allow that thought to come in, and then don't engage with it. And then take another breath and let it go away without engaging. And sit there and see if you can get quieter again. There'll be another voice. Don't engage, and then just be quiet. Or simply say, thank you, I'm going to be quiet now. That's all it is, just simply non-engaging. Not resisting, just choosing to be quiet and non-engaging. So where you're asking your question, that piece begins to be very valuable for you. It allows you to get into that type of a quiet space. See, now you begin to, in that quiet space, give room to, let's call it the little child in your space, that may hold pain or frustration or hurt feelings or is not recognized. Now, that little child may be a voice in your space also, different than the noise we're just talking about. It's when that little child comes up, you have a very large piece of information. And the large piece of information is the 4th, 5th, and 6th ray. Mm-hmm. And simply in that 4th ray, which you can hear it now more and more because you're more engaged in all this, the 4th ray simply says, I recognize my history, my past, as history. And I'm going to look at my history, but I'm not going to look at it through the emotion that I was experiencing at the time of the history. We okay so far?
Yes.
And then I'm going to simply look at it and bring it right into present time. Right into present time, and sit there and look at the anger or the pain or the hurt feelings or whatever, let's say of the little girl, and in present time, without the emotion, simply say, does this have value to me? Is this something that I need to continue to carry around? Yes, that circumstance happened, but does that circumstance influence anything that's going on in my today, right now space? And for the most part, 95%, let's say, the answer is no. It has no value to me. And so if you can simply make that decision, this doesn't have any value, I can let this go. Now, letting it go is you simply give it to the library in the sky. That was a real simple one with the 6-ray. Actually, that's how it works. You could simply say, okay, I'm going to put you in a rose and explode you, and I can be done with this. Take a breath. Good. I feel good. What happens is you really do clean off a lot of that dust in the space. Now, this looping space, you're just starting in this space. You kind of go into the higher mind. You're going to go into the different chakras, 8th chakra, 9th chakra, 10th chakra, 11th chakra. Now, in the 8th chakra, you can begin to bring it into language, bring it into the ability to think it in the rational mind positively. You bring it into that heart space, and it's like, oh, I get it. You begin to start to know it. 9th chakra, not so much. 10th, 11th chakra, not at all. They don't speak in language, what goes on there. But it does speak in that space of knowingness. What's going to happen after that, as you go a little further into this, you're going to start to wander through the mental body, mental emotional body, one body, except in that mental body there's 3 layers to it. And that first layer is devoted to the 3rd dimension. Would you like to be able to neutralize that layer of the mental body? Mm-hmm. And so you begin to not do the work, you just begin to sit there in the mental body, not thinking, not doing anything. And then you're going to find that you're going to go into the higher mind and the oversoul and the Christed oversoul and the causal body. And you have no idea what you're doing there. None. So the answer is, great, I'm going to put my attention there and I'm going to allow myself to just sit here in that quiet space and recognize that I am absorbing what's in here. I'm just pulling a tremendous amount of knowingness and information and how does it all work. And you're bringing it in, except it doesn't speak in English, French, and Spanish. What happens if you can allow that to simply be the exercise and not need to, why am I sitting here? I didn't learn anything. Nothing happened. You can stay out of the rational mind and the noise. Kind of a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, somebody says something and you say, well, this is how this works. And if they were to say, how do you know that? Your answer would be, I just know that. In the space where you're all playing, you're starting to step into these fields of awareness where knowingness begins to be how you navigate. What happens is in that space of knowingness, you also start to find that you're less and less engaged in the 3rd dimension and the importance of the 3rd dimension. It's not blowing it off. It's not caring. It's simply being aware of it, but it's not that significant for the most part to where each one of us are. The other part of that is what starts to happen here is you begin to be bright. You begin to be much more full of light because you're not in that rational mind. You've gotten rid of the lot of I'm not okay, and you're beginning to recreate yourself in light. And if you're playing in that park bench project, aspects of love, but what you don't recognize in that quiet, neutral space is that people begin to notice you. And even more important, just being around people, they begin to match you even though they have no idea what's happening. And they begin to let go of some of their baggage without running it through the emotional body or running it through the rational mind or running through a belief system that, when it really comes right down to it, isn't even their belief system for the most part. It's somebody else's truth that says, this is how we do this. I'm going to say something outrageous. Why do you stand up and salute the flag in any country in the world? Is that your idea? Does it have any value to you? Or is it something that others have said, using an outrageous example here, or this is what you do? You have to be loyal to. We're right and they're not right. And we're better and they're lesser. Does that make any sense? Was that your idea? Not being disrespectful to the idea at all, because it actually is really beneficial to an awful lot of people. They begin to get an identity. They begin to get grounded. They begin to get anchored to play the game of 3D. But in a way, the question at this level, where we're asking it, does that serve you? Just saluting the flag. Because as soon as that becomes really important as an identity, then this whole nationality becomes important as an identity, and then I'm better than them basically is built into the fabric. So do we want to carry those energies that are really anchored very much subconsciously in the average person's space? You know, I'm a German, I'm an American, I'm from Netherlands, with great pride, very nicely. It's a wonderful feeling to be prideful of. However, is it what you want to take into the place of well-being, where simply you can watch somebody play at an athletic event in your own athletic event? You could be the best in the world and they could be the best in the world, and you're competing with them and they do something really brilliant. You get really jealous, you get angry, you get sad, you get disappointed, you get scared. Third dimension, I might lose. But in a fifth dimension, you simply smile and go, damn, that was brilliant. Good job. And then you go to try to be as brilliant in your space. It's not a competition. It's an experience of excitement. Am I making any sense?
Yes. Yeah, you are. Mostly just keep the thoughts at bay and keep going with the coursework. Yeah.
Well, I'm not advocating the coursework. Yes, I am, but no, I'm not. Right here, I'm simply saying, good. So let's go right back to the place that allows the next step to occur, and it's that place where, okay, I have a lot of unmanaged thoughts that run through my head, and I'm going to practice sitting down and just being quiet. I said recently, are you aware the color, that there's a color called clear? It's a color. It's part of the color spectrum, but nobody's told me that. If you can play in the concept of clear, what do I do with this color clear? Well, I'm going to become clear, and I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to let clear move through me. It's quite a wonderful experience. It's not quite calm, although clear is in calm, clear is in quiet. It's inside those vibrations. Just simply be clear for a moment, and all of a sudden you find that you're very much in present time. And a lot of the chatter begins to go away.
Yeah, it's good.
Now let me just ask you another question. How do you feel right now?
Clear. I feel calm
exactly.
and at ease.
Yeah. See, so all we just did is point out how you do what you do, which is quite spectacular, and where it doesn't support you, some of those things. That was all this whole conversation is about. How you do this, pointed it out, told you where it was, telepathy channels, and simply said, here's the result when you do X. You did that all the way through the conversation. It was quite nicely done. And here's the result.
Yeah, that's good. I wish I had that this morning when I was starting to get all up in the news, and it's like, why are you listening to the news? Yeah, that will work very well. I could see.
How does it feel right now? See, because I'm saying this to everybody. what happens as soon as you say, as you just did, oh, I wish I had this morning in my past, and I'm going to work on it in my future.
Yeah.
Now look and see, are you in the same place that you were when I asked you a minute ago? What do you notice?
And then focusing on the clear again, and then it'll bring me back into that state.
Exactly. And see, tomorrow hasn't come yet, but it will be a present time moment tomorrow that will show up right now. And so if I understand how to manage clear right now, that right now will be also tomorrow morning when tomorrow morning comes around.
Good. Thank you.
Looks good on you. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.